in just a moment. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 6:03. And Sandra, are we okay before I get started?
Coming right. All right.
So since we have a full house tonight, if everybody will go ahead and take the time to silence their mobile devices, please, and thank you. And county manager, would you care to lead us in our invitation tonight?
Glad to do so. Right. Dear Lord, thank you so very much for your very many blessings, Lord, and for all the things you've given us. Lord, you blessed us in so many ways. Lord, tonight we have a lot of folks in this room and they have a common goal of trying to help folks in crisis. Lord, those, Lord, sometimes that are going through a lot of struggles. And Lord, I pray that we would in this room have a wise mindset, Lord, and that you just help us to use these funds in a manner pleasing to you. Lord, I pray that you guide our words and you guide our actions, direct our paths. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Commissioner Harden, would you lead us in our pledge? And everybody that is not a flag, we're gonna lift and turn to the back of the room because the flag is outside.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflict. Does any of the board members have any known conflicts of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before the board? If so, please identify those at this time. All right. Hearing none, do we have any additions or changes to the agenda tonight? All right. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Brandon, all in favor, vote by the sign. Motion carries. All right. Item 8 tonight, while we're on here. So the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners will hold a special session on Tuesday, August the 27th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the EDC room of the Mitchell County Administration Building located in Bakersfield. This session will provide the public with information concerning the opioid settlement funds and reporting requirements. We will be accepting public comments during the special session. Public comments will be limited to 3 to 5 minutes per organization. So if you choose to speak during the meeting, please feel free to fill out one of these blue cards, and those will need to be given to Miss Deidre, who is over there. Thank you, Deidre. And so, opportunity for presentation will be, I believe, after the presentation. So, and next item up is a PowerPoint put together to kind of explain the next steps in the process of the opioid settlement. And so at this time, Christy, I will ask you to come up and present that, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Christy Young and I'm with the finance department here at Mitchell County. And we wanted to go over a little bit about what the opioid settlement funds are all about and what the reporting requirements are, and give you guys some insight on what we're up against as we're starting this process. So we'll start here. The opioid epidemic in North Carolina has been a huge thing. It's nearly 12 North Carolinians died each year or each day from drug overdoses in 2022. And with that being said, local governments have spent an untold amount of money on the opioid related cost. We've had extensive health care cost, criminal justice, and in our social services system. And we've got some DSS folks here with us tonight, and they can attest over the years what that has brought to our DSS department with child care and CPS situations. So what is the opioid settlement funds? It's a national settlement that was $56 billion. And of that $56 billion, North Carolina received $1.5 billion. And that has been passed down to the local government. So, since 2021, Attorney General Josh Stein announced the $56 billion national settlement with opioid companies that North Carolina will receive the 1.5. All 100 counties in North Carolina joined in this lawsuit with the pharmaceutical companies. And these funds are flowing from the feds and the states and down into the counties, and that's where we're receiving these monies. And the hope is that the local governments will be able to do what they can do to combat this problem. So that's what we're here tonight to discuss and to talk about, because I know each of you have been influenced by what it's done, and we're all here together to try to look for some problem solving to try to help our community. So how much is Mitchell County going to get in this settlement? We are going to get anticipated funding as of right now of $3.6 million. Now that's not going to come down all at one time. So that's going to be over a period of 18 years. So what that means is we can't obligate that $3.6 million right now. We can't say that we're going to give one organization or we're going to fund a certain organization that $3.6 million. All that we can do from the financial aspect of that is that we can only allocate funds that we have right now. So we want everybody to understand that even though we're getting $3.6 million, we can only allocate what we actually have right now. And the funding will be received, like I said, over an 18-year time frame. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to spend those monies in that 18 years. That as long as we have money in that opioid fund, we can continue to spend as long as we have that. So it most likely will exceed that 18-year span. So on April the 4th, our commission board, they signed a memorandum of understanding. And in that memorandum of understanding, we had an option to choose either option A or option B. And in your packet, if you received an agenda, and there's a list of option A allowable expenses. And the reason that our board chose that is we felt that that would best suit our community in the allowable expenses. And there's been 77 out of 79 counties that has chosen to do option A. So with that being said, we've got more resources as far as helping us know what the reporting requirements is, helping us to know what are allowable expenses within those items that's listed on there. And we feel like that at this point in time that'll benefit our county with what's on at option A. And that doesn't mean down the road that if our commission board wants to add option B, that we can't do that down the road. But as of right now, our memorandum of understanding states that we're in the agreement of doing the option A. And like I said, that's in your packet and you guys can review those and be looking at those. Okay. And again, right here, this is what those option A expenses are. So, and in the package, that'll give you a little more detailed expenditures on there. This is just a few that we can look at. So our commission board belongs to what they call North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. That's where we have our insurance, and they have just a vast amount of resources that helps our county. They help us with policies, they help us with these different grants, and it's just a wonderful resource that we have to help us. And during this opioid settlement situation, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners have grouped a team that works only on opioid settlement, which has been wonderful for our county because that's given us tons and tons of resources. They reached out to us recently and they told us, hey, we can assist you with your plan. And they'll review our plan before we submit that to North Carolina Department of Justice. And they're going to help us follow the protocol that is required in doing this. I mean, it's extensive, more than what I anticipated until we started digging down into this. So basically, we're gonna use these folks as a great resource to check box, make sure we're doing the right thing, and make sure that it doesn't come back on our taxpayers to say, hey, that's disallowed and you're responsible for that money that you've allocated. And we don't want to do that. We don't want it to come back on our taxpayers at any point in time and say, we've made a mistake and we're gonna have to refund that money. So, these folks, as we develop a plan and we decide how we're gonna spend this money, they're gonna review this and they're gonna come back and they're gonna say, hey, Mitchell County, you're on the right track, or hey, we need to go back and we need to relook at this and work a little harder here because we don't want something coming back where our taxpayers is gonna be responsible for these funds. So last board meeting, we had a time where our commissioners could express what their top concerns are related to the opioid funds. So as you see right here, these are the top 4 that we come up with. Early intervention. We don't want our youth, we want to combat that problem before it becomes a problem with our youth. If we can put some things in place that we can turn our youth from going down a bad path, we definitely want to do that. And strategic planning. We have some criminal justice programs that we could use some of this money for, and of course, recovery support services. And that could be a vast amount of things that we can look into. But these were some of our top concerns, and I will say all of the commission board, one of their top concerns was our youth. We want to keep our youth from going down a bad path. So that was definitely a concern of each one of our commission board members here. So what's our next steps? We know what we'd like to do with it. We know that there is stipulations on how we can spend this money. We know we have a ballpark figure on what we're going to have in the next 18 years. So what's the next steps in how we move forward on allocating these funds? So there's a thing called a local spending authorization resolution, a big long word that says we've got to follow some steps before we can even allocate this money. So my commission board here has to pass a resolution before we can ever write a check to anybody, or we can ever allocate funds anywhere. And then that spending resolution, we have to have a strategy. And we know that right now our strategy is option A, those things that's listed there on the option A. In that local spending resolution, we have to tell them what the item number is that we're going to use on that. And the number, we have to tell them exactly how much money we want to allocate to that particular strategy or that particular number. And that's not to say we can't have several options on our spending resolution, but each one has to be numbered, and we have to decide how much money we're going to put in it. We have to do this each budget year. So this is going to be a process that will repeat every single year for the next 18 plus years. We have to give a description of why we chose this and how we're going to use this particular program to combat this issue. And the project, the activities that's around this particular item that we've chosen, and then the provider that's going to fulfill this obligation. So there's a lot of work that's going to be put into this. And before it gets to this point, I'll go back to North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. They said before we get to this point, let us review your plan. Let us look this over. Let us make sure that, it's going to check the check boxes that Department of Justice is going to want to do, because we don't ever want it to come back on our taxpayers that they're responsible for replacing those funds that we've spent. So we want to be super, super cautious in how we allocate these funds and make sure that we're within the guidelines. So if Mitchell County Board of Commissioners chooses to fund a subrecipient, here are some of the guidelines that we're required to follow. And the county or the board must do a request for applications. So what that means is we have to put it out and advertise just like we would for a contractor if we're doing a construction project. We have to advertise, we have to give every subrecipient an opportunity to apply for this money. And then we go through a process of review. We'll have a review committee that will actually look these over. And in that review committee, we have to make sure that there is a conflict of interest and a declaration form. So that means my commission board has to make sure that they don't have a conflict of interest with any of these subrecipients that have put in for this. So if my board of commissioners, one of them is sitting on as a board of director on a nonprofit, then that would present a conflict of interest. So we have to be super careful because we don't want to do anything that's going to be disallowed or feel like that we're showing favoritism to anyone. So the application process for the subrecipients for the opioid funds are as follows. We have to put it out for, I guess almost like out for bid. We have to do the review process. We have to do the reporting and verification before funds can be distributed. And like we talked about, that's a formal process. It's a lengthy process because it'll have to be advertised for so long. There'll be that review process, so forth and so on. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight, unfortunately. And if any of you guys have worked with government much, you know that it's always a slow process. That was the hardest thing with me coming from private to government. So, and again, we'll talk about that conflicts of interest. We have to make sure that we don't have any conflict of interest. So the application process for a subrecipient interested in the opioid funds. What does that reporting and verification look like? We will be requiring that there's quarterly reports that's turned into the county. And the reason that we have to do that is if a subrecipient is awarded some money, then we're required to do impact reports. We have to turn it into the Department of Justice, and they have to see that what you guys are doing is actually combating the problem of the opioid epidemic. So in order to cover us, we need you guys sending us quarterly reports telling us how you are working toward that problem. And the verification from those reports will be a number of people. The finance team, of course, will be looking at that because we're the ones that are doing the reporting. Our auditor will be involved in that because she's going to be auditing those funds too. And also, she knows what the guidelines are. We have our legal counsel that's been involved from day one in this opioid fund. And of course, Department of Justice. That's where it ends. If they disallow it or they don't think that we're doing what we're supposed to, then again, we go back to, it'll fall on the responsibility of the taxpayer to put that to repay that money. So if a subrecipient is chosen for this money, a yearly contract will have to be executed. And that's just stating that you're in a contract with us. This is what your services are going to be with the opioid money. This is what we've allocated for your particular organization. And again, we'll go back to that impact report. It must be submitted for review before funds can be released. And the funds are going to be done on a reimbursement basis. Once we see what services that you're providing, and then it's combating the problem of the opioid epidemic, then that's when funds will be released on a quarterly, monthly, however the organization is set up. So, and again, we go back to that review of the finance team and so forth. They'll be looking at that. So there's a lot to it. I know that's a lot of information in a short period of time, and we just want to make sure that we're covering our county well, and that we also want everybody to have a fair advantage on putting in an application for these monies. So I want to start with it.
Thank you, Christy, for that presentation. Board, if you guys are good, I'll do public comment first, and then we'll move on to board comments. So at this time, if anybody has a blue comment card, or if you think of one between now and question number 2, just go ahead and fill those out and bring those up to Miss Deidre, and she'll bring them over here to me. The first one to submit a blue public comment card was Miss Lisa. And you are with search area. You'll, go on up to the, podium. And Alan will set your timer for 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Lisa Schultz. I am a Yancey County resident, but I am a member of Search and also a member of Mitchell Yancey Substance Use Task Force and, have been working cooperatively with both counties. I was part of the group that produced one of the reports that you read prior to this meeting. I'm here to make a special query. I want you to think about, I want you to think about what we want to have in 18 years. What we want to be able to look back in 18 years and say, we accomplished this. So this is a lot of money. But when you divide it by 18 years and you put an amount on each year, it's not as much. There are so many needs. You could every year spend a certain amount of this money and be chipping away at stuff, and it would all be important and valuable stuff. But there are also longer term goals that we have. When we did strategic planning with the task force, one of the things that came up and then just quickly went to the side because it was totally unrealistic was recovery housing. Okay. Absolutely needed. We do not have a place in our 2 counties where people can, well, we do have one place, right? What's it called?
Never too
Scott, right? Which takes in a small number of them. And so people have to go away and they can't, and then their families it's hard for their families to support them and so forth. My appeal to you would be to consider setting aside a portion of the funds whenever you make an allocation and for a big need, okay? There was an article in the paper this week, in your paper about the Sunrise Community for Recovery and Wellness, which is well thought of and is in Asheville. They start out with peer support specialists, which are known to be absolutely effective. And they build from that, and they build a network, and they also build recovery services, and then they eventually go into helping with housing and so forth, and they work with the community to do that. In other words, the community has to be on board for them to be engaged, and they're really good. So my suggestion would be, I actually went to Dogwood Health Trust and I talked to this guy named Mike Pesant, Pesant. And I asked him a question. I said, if Yancey and Mitchell County decided to set aside a certain amount of the opioid funds in advance, they just said they were going to do that. Specifically for the purpose of starting with peer support and engaging with an organization like Sunrise Community. Would you guys be interested in helping fund that so that can keep going? And that would really be something we'd have to say we accomplished that was bigger than what we can just accomplish if we every year just give out something. Now, that doesn't mean take all the money into that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying be willing to think about what it would mean if we were able to work together as 2 counties. And had the resources, at least some of the resources we put money in the pot, but we have Dogwood behind us as well. And he said, yes, we would be interested in talking about that. So, that's my plea.
Thank you, Ms. Lisa. All right, our next public comment card is from Mr. Doug Harrell. And you are with Mitchell County Recovery.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Looking around the room, I guess I'm probably the oldest one in the room. But this is a subject that's extremely dear to me. We have 22 grands, 25 and a half grades. And I have dealt with some of this stuff personally, with some of the grants. Hope, thankfully, most of it's worked out, but it's important. Mitchell County Recovery Ministries is an active 501c3 charitable organization that has operated in Mitchell County now for 7 years. We have 2 programs under that. One of them is Celebrate Recovery. And there are a lot of folks that have gone through that successfully. And I'm thankful for that. Currently, on every Thursday night, we'll have between 40 and 70 people at Celebrate Recovery. I don't get there a lot anymore. I used to get there more often than I do now. But it's touched lives in an extremely positive manner. We have been totally self-supported, you know, through donations and charitable organizations, and have been blessed to be able to do it. I was looking over this sheet of the things that we're trying to do, and we actually, of the 12, we actively participate in 6 of them. The strategic planning for preventiveness this coming Saturday night, we'll have our 5th drug overdose prevention night in Spruce Pine. We're closing off the upper street and really striving to make people aware of overdose in a preventative manner. That's just one of the many things we do. I look at another practice that we have. We're blessed to have an organization called Never Too Scarred. And that organization is an in-house recovery for women. We currently have 2 houses. We have one that we have purchased, and we're currently making payments of $2,500 a month on that house. To date, I want to go just read a couple of things here right quick of some of the things that's happened with that. We have that started 3 years ago, and we have been active with the house for almost 2 years now. We have served 30 ladies. We have had 13 ladies to graduate. We have had 3 girls accepted Christ. 8 have rededicated their life to Christ. 11 have been baptized. 2 ladies are back working in the program. 6 of the ladies are now living in Mitchell County and working jobs here in Mitchell County and Avery County. 5 have been or are being reunited with their kids and their families. 1 has gotten their GED. That's in the period of a year and a half. That's in Mitchell County. We're here, and we've been here, and we will continue to be here. The greatest prevention we can have is a solid family. And when we can reunite mothers and fathers with their children, that's the best prevention we'll ever have. Nothing else comes close. Like I said, I've got a huge family. I've got 1 granddaughter right now. I don't know where she is. I've got another granddaughter that came to my house out of jail. My son called and said, "Dad, can you take her?" We took her. We sat down and talked. I said, "If you'll do these things, I'll stand beside you." For the next year, I did that. First thing she had to do was to go to Celebrate Recovery. That young lady today has been clean for 6 years. She's married, got a 4-year-old little boy. It's an absolute blessing. I just say this. We are here, we're active, We continue to be active, and we would appreciate any support we can get. And thank you for the time.
Thank you, Dave.
Public comment number 3 is from Miss April, and she is with the Youth Christian Recreation and Sport.
Yes.
Okay.
My name is April Buchanan. I am a recovering drug addict. I have been clean a year and a month. I go to Bear Creek Church. I go to Celebrate Recovery. I do believe peer support's very important. I believe that the housing, I went to Asheville to Oasis. It was a secular rehabilitation recovery home, and I found God there, but I think that it's so important to have the spiritual side of that. But as far as we've been talking I go to Bear Creek, as I said, and we have a gym, and there is some police officers, and there is other churches that we've been talking to, that if we could use that gym for the kids, different kids in the community, different Nancy County, Mitchell County, Avery County, for different sports, to get people involved, that, on our side of recovery, we need to show the community that we're not so scary anymore. But on the other side, we need some of our police officers and Dean, Jay, Jeremy, to be there so the community feels safe with us there. But we could have concessions. If we could just get started, I think that it would be able to support itself. There's a lot of needs, like was said earlier, there's a whole lot of needs. But the community coming together is huge, and it's kind of like a blind side, because people are like, well, I don't understand how to get involved. Well, if you put kids and cops together and recovery people, and we can kind of, it can start with them having somewhere to go after school. Some people to love on them, something they can be a part of, instead of just out wandering around. And I just want to say, for the people that's here in probation or in anything like that, I'm sorry, Link, I'm just going to mention your name. It all started right there. We need to be able to speak. I love how we started off praying. It starts with that. No matter, I could be sober, but I could not have joy. And if I didn't have the joy I have with Jesus Christ, then there's no reason to be sober. I would just be miserable. I just hope that this money goes to the right places, and whatever it's chosen to do, I just pray that the Lord's in charge of it.
Thank you, Ms. April. Right, with the scan in the audience, does anybody else? Thank you. You can. Jessica.
I guess I'm gonna call whoever from this affiliated squad wants to stand with me up there too.
No, it doesn't.
If anybody else associated with the task force that would like to stand with us, happy to have you stand with us.
That's more reading for y'all too.
Yeah, please be with us. Yeah, you're.
I'll go stand with you.
Okay, so this is not what I planned to do, but this is what we're gonna do, because when I started having conversations with folks, I think we're one organization. I think it's powerful for you to see the representation of our one organization. So while we're not one organization of
we're not a 501c3. We're a coalition. So, we're the Mitchell Yancey Substance Abuse Task Force, as we're currently named. My name is Jessica Zucchino. I coordinate this task force, and I think these folks feel comfortable with me generally being at the front of the room and generally saying the things that represent what we do. However, I would say that each one of these individuals has something really important that they could share with you. So, to whatever extent, if other folks are planned to talk representing your individual organization, please do. I don't need to overshadow us. So our coalition is currently working, we're a collaborative effort, we're Mitchell Yancey. So our coalition currently works after completing a strategic plan on empowering individuals, building capacity in our coalition and in our larger community, and refocusing advocacy and education efforts related to substance use. So of the folks that are standing up here, who works with the Empowering Individuals group or has hung out with them at some point? Let them see ya. Okay, so these folks are rolling out a regional effort to reduce stigma against people who have used drugs and their families. Who has been working with the Building Capacity group? Just give us a wave around there. Thank you. These folks are publishing a website that serves as a one-stop shop for individuals and families who have unmet needs, which can be especially helpful in the realm of substance use. When individuals may need support for their housing or heating, food support, clothing, emergency services, education resources, treatment support, and so much more. Who is affiliated with the Refocusing Advocacy and Education efforts? Great, thank you. So we are, these folks are raising awareness to the resources that exist in our community and supporting the marketing of the website that the coalition has created, as well as the anti-stigma campaign, and also working to coordinate with our youth outreach efforts in the community. So, this is the part where I haven't run this by this group, so I'm gonna go off a little road here. I would advocate that you all do open this up to subrecipients. So this is a coalition. These are people who have coordinated effort together. And we have a commitment to trying to figure out if there are gaps here in what the opioid settlement funding could support, that we would like to figure out how to fill those gaps in certain ways. And some of these people can do a lot with just a little chunk of money. And I would also advocate that if possible, if you could put in your spending resolution to remove the reimbursement piece. A couple of the folks that you've heard from are running small organizations, and just to have some money that they're able to use immediately without that pressure of having to reimburse it or having to have the capital at the beginning to get it started, that can be really complicated for a small organization. So I would advocate that if it's possible, or at least maybe on some basis, that depending on their budget, you could consider removing the reimbursement piece for some organizations, if not all. So I just want to say that while my request for how funding is used may differ from others that are in this task force or coalition, I think we agree that some consistent effort towards this issue is really important, and that opioid settlement funds will not magically make all of our substance use problems go away. But with strategic planning, I think we can do a lot. I would like to remind you, as I said at your last meeting, we have over 50 active members, and these are the folks that either live in Mitchell or represent Mitchell County residents or work in Mitchell County. So there are 50 active members that contribute to the work of our task force. So we're present, active, engaged. We would like for you to keep us in mind for your decision-making as it relates to these funds, not just in this moment, but also down the road, if things shift. So we're a pool of highly committed residents and professionals who care deeply about supporting this work. We'd be happy to contribute to a committee if you create one, or we'd be happy to have individual conversations with any of you that are interested in the work that we do, and the potential positive or negative impacts of specific types of funding that you could have based on our experiences in the field. So thank you for your time, and thank you for the very important work you do for the benefit of our community. Yes. And good evening, everyone. Thank you.
So number 5 is gonna be Mr. Sean Block.
Thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to provide some feedback as stood up here as a member of the task force, but also, I'm also with the Department of Social Services here in Mitchell County. So I'm gonna piggyback on that, just to take an opportunity, looking through that lens from the department. In the number of kids that we have in custody, and the number of those kids that are in custody directly or indirectly related to substance use is pretty significant. And where I would advocate for, the further we can get upstream in prevention, that's one of the things we really need. I know that's, you all have identified that, so I just want to reinforce that we feel that is a significant need, wrap around our young people, wrap around our kids in our community. The other part of that is kind of on the back end. We do have some great providers. But those providers are limited to some extent in hours, days of availability. And so when you're asking parents to work a case plan and they have to fit that into a 8 to 5, Monday through Friday treatment, that doesn't necessarily work when they're trying to do a job, trying to hold, make a house, payment, rent payment. And so one of the things we'd also want to advocate for is some support in expanding those services outside of the 8 to 5, Monday through Friday service area, and really give parents the opportunity to access those services that are after 5 o'clock on the weekends, so they can focus not only on their services, but also maintaining their home in which they can get their kids back. And so I advocate for that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Charles. Speaker number 6 is going to be Forrest, and he is with the Blue Ridge Regional Hospital.
Hello, my name is Forrest Harrison. I'm the Chief of Staff and Medical Director at Blue Ridge Regional Hospital, and I have my nurse manager, Amber Miller, and my CEO, Tanya Hale, here with me. We were accepted and applied for a program about 1.5 years ago, sponsored by the North Carolina Healthcare Foundation, to help us and 7 other hospitals throughout the state basically establish a program for treating opioid addiction in the emergency department, which is something that's not really historically done in emergency departments. So they help train our physicians and our providers and our staff and help us set up this pathway and help us set up a referral base for these patients once they're discharged from the emergency department, so they can continue to get care out in the community at local practices. And to be honest, we've not had a very high volume of patients through the program, but we know that they exist. And this is something that's available at our own hospital, at our ER, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so I just wanted to let this group know that that exists. And while I don't have any specific recommendations for use of the money at this time, I would offer the support of myself and our hospital. And if there's any way that we can help, please reach out to us.
All right, do we have any more?
I'll be real quick.
If you'll bring your, fill out your, if you don't care, just come up here to the podium. What was your name, sir?
My name is Brian Creech. I'll be real quick. I help support the men's ministry of Soldier Recovery. Unfortunately, our leaders had to step aside because of health reasons in his family, and I have the joy of seeing people flourish.
Amen.
I've had a chance to train over 200 peer support specialists in my previous job, and I will tell you, they're some of the most beautiful people to have people in recovery. Your investment in recovery will change the landscape of this county. It will create a watering holes for hope. And I'm also a person in long-term recovery myself. for my own mental health challenges. I'm here today because of recovery. I was out of work for 5 years because of my own challenges, but I became a peer support specialist. I worked my way up through the managed care organization field, and I'm living proof that when you invest in recovery housing, 72% of people who get stable, affordable housing plus wraparound supports have the predictor of 72% to stay clean and sober. So I would encourage you to look at Sunrise Wellness Center, to look at the Blair Clark Respite Center as a very affordable way to help people avoid incarceration and emergency rooms until they can really reach a place of stability in their life. And your investment in recovery will help countless numbers of people not get embedded deeper into the juvenile justice system or the justice system. It's the most valuable thing you can do for people who are struggling, who are just trying to solve a problem in the wrong way. And the best thing that we can do in our communities are to respond with kindness and compassion.
Thank you, Brian. And now we have Cassie George, if you'll come up. And she's gonna be speaking for MCHP.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Cassie York. I'm a OBOC care coordinator and behavioral health provider at MCHP.
White Willow, I'm a family doctor at MCHP, and I see a lot of folks who are struggling with substance dependency.
Hello, I'm Cassie Wilson. I'm a peer support specialist at MCHP. I'm also in long-term recovery. I'm a mother that deals with this. I am a family member that deals with this. I live here. I have children that are involved both in this. I mean, I can go on and on and on.
Yeah, well, same.
Right, Freedom Life, MCHP, so also the recovery, all the different things.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I wanted you to just talk first.
Yeah, I think like I've struggled so many times, like, what do we do with this money? Like this is something we do on an everyday basis. We're seeing folks every day who are struggling with this problem, and they're just stuck in it day after day after day after day. And you're like, well, we'll do it. We'll give them the money, do it. We'll just handing them things, do it. And I don't know. Like one thing that I do see that I really wonder about is when people can't get their, basic needs met, how are they really going to move on? Like social determinants of health, we're talking about that all the time. Like, how are folks getting those things met? And I see that so often in this group of people that are living in generational trauma and generational. I wonder is there some pot, that could be pulled from once in a while where groups like MCHP or Celebrate Recovery or whomever, they want to help some people out that they can, kind of help them along the way. To meet light bills, to meet things like, and I also see access to detox and rehab as another issue. How can we help people get into that easier? If I'm a young mom and I'm taking care of a child, who's gonna watch my child? If I go to detox, I hear a lot, who's gonna pay my electric bill while I'm gone? Are there ways where we can use some of these funds to take care of some of those things?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Dr. Willett and I've talked about this today. We talked about it yesterday. I mean, we're not here to say, like, give the money to the CHP. It's really like, I feel like we do a lot of good work, and we do a lot of things on that paper. I mean, and we do, like, people have access to nutrition, they have access to all the things at MCHP, and I'm so thankful for that. Like being a federally qualified health center, it gives people, patients who come in who do not have insurance, they have the same access to things that people who have great insurance have, and I'm thankful for that. But I feel like it is, like, as long as this money goes somewhere that is helpful to the community, I'm like, yes, that's what we want. But I agree with Dr. Willett. It's like so many people want to take the next step, but there's so many barriers to doing that. And how can we work together to help them? Money is a factor, right? Sadly, money is a factor. So, I think for me, that's just really what, yes, we do great work at MCHP. I feel like I want to say that, but also so does everybody else in here. So I just care about the community. That's it, so. Yeah.
Public speaker number 9 will be Mr. David with visual effects.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David. I'm with Mitchell Medics. We're currently developing a program for a community paramedic to reach out to people in need, mainly to follow up with people that have had to use 911 or EMS services. With that program, we can help with overdose and addiction education for the families, for the patients. We can develop a Narcan delivery program that we can follow up with people and deliver that. But right, the problem that we're facing is that's more than just a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 job, which requires a whole new position. In order to do that, to reach the numbers of people that I have in mind that I think the county needs to reach, that are facing this addiction problem, we're gonna need more resources to be able to reach out into the community even more exponentially to deliver those programs and deliver those resources. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Public speaker number 10 is Jay. Did you make your way up to the podium? Are you with a specific group or organization?
No, ma'am, just,
Just a-
I got
You're
ideas.
just a citizen, okay? Citizen with ideas, got it.
What they stand for. Is that all right? Okay, I'm Jay Carver. I go celebrate recovery. Now, I'll just tell everybody in here, I'm not ashamed of it. I was alcoholic for a long time. I was a closet alcoholic. In other words, I drank at home. Next day I go to work. It's not good. We need something to stop this. Epidemic is what I'm gonna call it, Satan. And it's all about Satan, that's what he's doing. I work up to prison. I asked one young man, he's getting out a while back, okay? I said, where you from? He said, "Back." I said, where are you going when you get out? He said, I guess I'll go back on the street. You know, one of them camps over there.
Yeah, tents are here,
Now, we got people living like that around here.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all know it or not. They're living on these bridges. They're living all around. They're camping out in the woods and people's property. Some people don't even know they're there. We need like a halfway house
Yeah.
and a homeless shelter for people who don't have no way. We could have conditions on that now. How many schools did we just close down this county? No comment? 3. Okay, where's the buildings going?
You were kind of the comment. Where is
Okay, but I'm saying it right there, it's the perfect opportunity. It don't have to be ginormous. It's I picked up, I run a band at Bear Creek now. And I bring kids and grown-ups, whoever wants to go to church, I bring them. I remember picking up, I went out to McDonald's, I met a young man out there, and his metric is break. Now, he's living over there in the woods in a tent, and he walked over there. And I guess he was taking his bath out the creek. I sure didn't see no shower, in the tent. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to have a place to go if you're homeless? If you're getting out of that prison, and I'd like to see where it's set up like. People's all the time hunting people to work, right? Even menial jobs, right? It don't have to be
making 50,000 a year, and I'm just saying a menial job. That gives you self-respect.
Yeah.
It gives you spending money.
That's right.
Be great for yourself and let them chip in a little bit to help somebody else down the road. I'll talk about these ideas a lot. And I'm gonna back April on hers. About our church out there. If you can start a youth league out there, what's our kids doing? They got anything to do on the phone? They're bored to death. Now, when I was a kid, we was out playing basketball, we was out throwing football, baseball or something, you know what I'm saying? And I was out in the woods, I was Indian once in a while, and I was a cowboy the other time. But anyway. I think we can get all the churches around here, a bunch of the churches around here to help get referee all these games. Well, right now, we're in a bit, we gotta get to building where it's, the other church has to be, the foundation has to be supported up. The old church. As soon as that's done, it's open. My son's a deacon out of Bear Creek, and I think he loved it. He'd be one of the referees out there. That would keep the kids busy, wouldn't it? And I know who runs one of the bands, so. Guess what I could do? I could go pick up kids, couldn't I? I love it. I love picking up kids, bringing them to church. But think about them buildings. Money and everything. And God will place and replace the money you need for other things. If you just be obedient to Him, okay? Thanks for your time. I love y'all. Okay? Oh, and Dean, his county over in Yates County. I think if we get on board with them, they'd be more than willing to help putting it in. If we just kind of move something. Talk to Yates County.
All right, next up, speaker number 11 is Link Vance, and he's,
I came tonight swearing I would not speak. But I've heard a mention of housing. And that's what Freedom Life does. We're in the process right now in McDowell County building 44 apartments. We possess 4 transitional houses, 3 men, 1 women's. We were in Avery County, Yancey County as well. I'm the entry coordinator for Yancey County. We're in the process right now of procuring land so that we can write grants to build housing, transitional housing and longer term. I would just like to say what a blessing it has been to be a part of the Mitchell Yancey Substance Abuse Task Force. Jessica Zucchino is a force of nature. And I've learned so much just by being associated with these folks. It's been a huge blessing in my life to be on this side of things. I'm a retired probation officer. I spent 13 years driving around Mitchell County, seeing folks in their most desperate times. And but you learn pretty quick in this line of work. You're either going to hate people or love people. And more times than not, it's love. Folks make choices because it's how they were taught to make choices, or the lack of teaching is how they make choices. And what we hope to do is help people make better choices coming out of prisons. We've already started. We are the first pilot program in North Carolina that is actually going into the prisons now. We've started a reentry program that happens during your last year of incarceration. Mentors come in, you're in a separate housing, you're in separate programming that is going to help you with employability, living skills, hopefully housing information, so that when you come out and you hit the street, there's somebody there waiting for you. We were looking over some studies last year as we were preparing some things. And the one statistic really jumped out to me. And it's that the biggest denominator in success for reentry programs and for recovery programs You just know there's somebody that cares about you.
Amen.
And
You know.
accountability.
And I've seen so many people, even tonight, that care. You know, you're here because you care about other people, and I applaud you for that. Let's remember one thing. This is a marathon. What, we may never live to see the results of what's happening tonight, of how the money, how it gets used, if it's successful or not. You know, if we can change one person, one family, one generation, you know, that's what's gonna break the cycle in these rural counties. That's the issue, isn't it? Is how do we do that? And it takes the whole community to do that. One thing I have learned personally is that we have a lot of people that want to be a part of the organizations, but they lack perspective. And we have a room full of perspective here tonight from different areas, different groups. And I've really appreciated getting to hear all of it. I hope that you guys will listen and use this wisely. You know, it's a real opportunity to have people with lived experience here in front of you that have come out the other side. And I'll say this, there's not a greater thing in the world than watching somebody being there and watching somebody let God change their life. That's a wonderful thing. Thank you for your time.
All right, any more blue cards? Well, I guess, we will be on to board comment. So I'll just start down here at the end and work my way down through here. So if Jeff, you would like to lead us out tonight with our board comment?
Well, thanks, Harley, put me on the pressure first.
Oh, sorry.
Josh, guys. Thank everybody for being here, you know, I've been in a lot of these meetings, I know most of your faces. I've heard your stories, and, what I've heard tonight, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've got a lot of things that we talked about in this plan sitting in this room. Now, how do we pull all of that together? It's gonna be key. I think Lee made a good point. This is a marathon that we're running. And what I would say to you folks and the citizens of the county is, you know, be patient. I think I can speak for all the board. We want to get this thing right. Okay? Because this is about affecting people's lives. Whether you're a young person, you're a parent, you're a friend. You know, it's all business. And I have given people opportunities to work. Those men were convicted felons. The reason they were convicted felons was drugs. And I happened to coach one years ago in high school basketball. In and out of the system. Ran into him about 3 weeks ago, and he's clean.
Yeah.
Totally straight, totally different direction. Now, he's been in prison twice. Okay, drugs put him there both times. Okay. Like I said, we got a lot of players in the room. I look around and, you know, our administration from our school systems here. I think one of the big keys here is to educate our children. And when I say educate, I'm talking about a class. Not a day class, not a couple of week class. Maybe a half a semester class from 6th grade through 12th grade. Not only to educate, but you put a little bit of fear in that child. I know we had a thing at Bear Creek Church last year for the youth program, youth basketball. Got all different ages out there. My daughters come home scared to death because they saw actual, I'm not gonna say drugs, they were fake drugs, but they looked like the real drugs, but they were scared to death of fentanyl. And it really woke them up.
So hopefully, I never had to walk through that with my two grown sons. Hopefully, I won't have to walk through that with my daughters or my grandchildren. I think we've heard a lot about resources. You know, if you're somebody that's struggling and you have an addiction, you need to have a resource or know who do I call, where do I go, what do I do to get help, because I'm ready to get help right now. You know, I can't, and you better grab them while they're ready to get help right there. Because that may not last too long. There may be some little voices in their head, and we know who that is, that said, oh, you don't need to go there. And then, you know, recovery. How do you help them get through recovery? You know, for accountability. That, okay, we have housing that Link talked about back there. Well, there's going to be accountability with that. There's got to be standards set. You know, you just don't get to come in here and come and leave as you choose. We're going to try to educate you. We're going to counsel with you. We're going to minister with you. We're going to try to help you find a job. And this is long term. So it's an epidemic nationwide. I was just sitting the other night and then watching Full Measure. 107,000 people died from overdose in the United States last year. 70% of that overdose was opioid. And one thing that I picked up on a statement, people are not using more drugs, they're using less drugs, but the less drugs are killing them. Small now. So that struck with me pretty hard. And I could have been an addict. Okay. If I'd have grown up 10 years later, if I were 10 years younger, I could have been one of you folks that's sitting up there saying, this has affected my life. Luckily, in 1977, when I graduated, we didn't know about hard drugs. As crazy as it sounds, you had a few people around you that smoked pot. A few people drank. But nothing that these kids are going on through today. And I was scared to death. Well, I like to play sports. Not very good at it, but I like to participate. And so, you know, that's what, I never went that route because I wanted to be on that sports team. And then I didn't want to disappoint my parents. Nor did I want the wrath of my parents if I had done this situation. But look, guys, that was a long time ago. These kids in today's world are facing so many things from peer pressure, from bullying. You know, vaping's killing our young people. It's killing. It's destroying their lives. And you don't know what's going to be in that vape when you use that vape. And then all of a sudden you get addicted. And because you wanted to fit in with a certain group of people. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're in over your head. You don't know how to get out. So sorry I've rambled on so long. Like I said, I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel here. I think I've heard enough about it in this room that if everybody would join forces, and I would encourage anybody here that's with an organization that wants to fill out an application and come back to this board and make a presentation to this board about your organization and how you would use this money or what you know, your goal and your plan is, you know, I'd love to hear that. And I think Christy said that's part of the process that we have to go through according to the state. So, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
So I'm a little horse. I'm not going to talk a whole lot, but it's impressive to me to see when just the sheer number of individuals that care so much and to hear the different stories and things that have led you to where you are and the different experiences that each individual person has in their background and bringing all those resources together for one purpose is huge. And so just to kind of pick up where Jeff said, and you know, if we could pull everybody together and use all those resources for the entire good of the county, just imagine how strong and how powerful it could be. And so, you know, everything from our youth to what happens to an individual once they leave incarceration, you know, that's a whole spectrum of someone's life that, you know, we're going full circle. And so each and every aspect of that whole scenario is so important. And it's going to take us all working together to make that right decision, and take us all working together to make this whole scenario work. And so I wasn't even born in 1977. So I thought about that when you were talking about it. So I won't talk too much more. I'm kind of hoarse, and so I've got my kiddos that I've got to have in class tomorrow. I better keep a little bit of voice on.
Thank you, buddy. I just want to start off by saying thank you for everybody that took time to come here. I know everybody's super busy, but I appreciate you guys making the effort to come out and be part of this process. And that's the one thing I love about Mitchell County is when there is a problem, small communities being together. And so I think that that's very important. And each of you, I mean, I know several of you have been affected. Myself personally, grew up in a household with drug activity on a regular basis. And so, you know, I'm glad to hear that the majority of people in here, the focus is the youth, because they're dealing with stuff that even myself have never had to deal with. And that I contribute some of that to social media, AI. And so like the mental health aspect of it, I think is very crucial for our young people. So I was pleasantly surprised to hear that a lot of people, I think we all can agree that if we can get to the early on, then that's where, like I said, you know, you may not see it, but I do think that that will have the trickle down effect. So thank you guys. And I know I've had a couple people approach me out in the public and ask, why have you guys not picked this? Why have you not done that? And so a couple weeks ago, I did attend the annual conference for the Association of County Commissioners. And so being able to discuss with people from all 100 counties, some of them were maybe a little gun shy, or they jumped ahead and started saying, oh, we're going to spend it on this, this, and this. And then the Department of Justice has actually kicked that back because that is not legal expenditures that they were allowed to spend it on. So they're having to go back. And so I appreciate this board and our county staff for making sure that we are following the policies, the procedures, the protocols, and making sure that we're doing stuff by the book, because we do have one chance to get it right. And so thank you guys for always keeping us on track. And because you guys are the boots on the ground and you guys day in and day out. And so I appreciate you, staff. So.
Thank you guys for all coming out here tonight. That's a lot of, I won't sit here and repeat everything these guys said. I agree with everything they said. So I do appreciate y'all coming out here. And I'll say this, that my eyes have been opened up a lot since this has started. I'll be honest, I'll be just an honest person. When I hear drugs and I hear this and I'm like, why do people make that bad choice? So, you know, man, they should probably do that. I don't know, shouldn't have done that. And then I'm like, you know, maybe, we got other things we should worry about, but I've learned a lot, in compassion that, I could have made those same bad choices. I made a lot of bad choices, in my life, and it didn't affect me the way it affected somebody else. But, the last thing I want to see is people hurt. And, I think we got a great opportunity here. I looked around this room, I know I got a personal relationship with about 90% of the people in this room. So I feel, I really feel good to see this many people here. And please come to me, feel free to talk to me. My family's been affected by this. I've watched, multiple cousins go through drug stuff, and I think that's what hardened me up to it. Cause I'm like, why are you doing that? You shouldn't do that. Yeah. Then I had my wife's, brother, Link, I think you saved his life. Honestly, I mean, you changed his life and, my heart was very hard towards him because, I lost another cousin because of him, because they were all together and my cousin overdosed on heroin. And he's the guy that was with him, so I ain't gonna lie to you, I had a lot of hard feelings towards some different actions in it. So, it's been really good for me to hear this. I look back there, Dean, I mean, Matt and I are college roommates, and when I know what you've been through. I mean, and it breaks my heart. So I want to help and I want to make sure that people know I care. Just thank you for coming and let's get together, make a good decision and the county will be much better for it. I don't want your kids, my kid, to ever have to go through it. So thank you.
A lot of great things have already been said tonight. I look out and I see there's a lot of people. I think this is the most people I've ever seen in a commissioner meeting that wasn't mad at us. Usually these meetings are like this. So, it's refreshing to see so many people working on the same goal. And there's so many different ways that you can attack this problem that, sometimes it seems overwhelming. The best course of action to take when it comes to substance misuse. And I think a lot of progress is already going just through this process of getting all these folks together to collaborate. As a parent, fentanyl, opioids, methamphetamine terrify us. We worry a lot about the decisions our children make when they're not in our presence. And in our schools, we see kids, that are affected by this, and we want to help. And, I had a meeting one time the day after I heard a presentation from Cassie, is that right? Cassie. Yeah, and it changed my perspective when I went into that meeting. We was with a parent, we were talking about the child. And I couldn't help but think during that meeting, like, we can't help this kid if we can't help this family. And I said, so that's just kind of a glimpse, I think, of one way that this is already impacting people, just, all that collaboration. It kind of changed my perspective on how I deal with parents and my thoughts with parents of kids in my class. So thank you.
And manager, you're not a board member, but do you have any
Yeah,
comment?
definitely glad to put my 2 cents in, definitely not elected, and just given the perspective of working with this group commission board and with these groups as we did the opioid study in the county. And we learned a lot about statistics that apply to our specific area. And I know what I say often is government in general, a generalization is they have a reputation for throwing money at a problem and not fixing it. And what I feel like everybody in this room wants to do with these funds that we have is they want to find root causes and they want to find implementable solutions that we can invest in with these funds to change lives. And, I'll voice what this board has said. I think I see a lot of trending that we're trying to grab those youth and rescue those little youngins that are at risk. And we want to impact that before it grabs its hold, and it's a lot harder to get out of addiction when you're in that throes of it and in those latter stages. So we're really wanting to grab that root cause, and we're wanting to find it. I can see. And of course, as our finance team has stated, is we are running audit requirements with this, and we're having to get reporting and solutions. So, as your heart pulls forth a certain idea, the mechanics of how this money is to be spent also has to come into play. So we're having to balance those 2 things out. So as we weigh out where these funds goes, as this board weighs out and tasks me and our team here in the county side of it to work in those directions, I invite you to give input into this board. I think that, what everyone said in public comment tonight was impactful. And I further invite you, as this decision process is underway, to definitely reach out to your commission board members and reach out to the county staff, and we'll be glad. We're all ears and we're wanting to hear and we're wanting to do this right. I think that's what everyone in this room has in common.
So, all right, there's no more comments. We will need a motion to adjourn.
So, second.
Thank you, Meredith. All in favor? All right, thank you, guys, and whoever did the report, you guys, if you need to educate. Don't leave See what that.